Hello, welcome to Myelopathy Matters, the official podcast of the charity Myelopathy.org.
Where we talk all things degenerative cervical myelopathy from the perspective of the professionals, the researchers and the people living with myelopathy.
I'm Ben Davies, neurosurgeon scientist and a founder of Myelopathy.org.
I'm Iwan Sadler, a person with DCM and also a founder of Myelopathy.org.
This is why Myelopathy matters. So today we thought we would pause for reflection. It's been 5 years since Myelopathy.org became a charity and 4 years since we started this podcast. One of our first episodes was recorded in New York when I had to share a hotel room with Ewan ahead of the AO Spine Recode DCM consensus meeting to establish the research priorities for DCM. Plenty of cosmetics, some meditation and a breakfast later, I managed to get Ewan into that meeting. Well, it's a warm welcome to New York. I'm with Ewan. We're sitting in our breakfast area in our small hotel in the French Quarters, which is very romantic. I arrived late last night, Ewan yesterday afternoon. We're all pretty excited about the forthcoming Recode DCM meeting.
Yeah, I've met a few members last night, and I'm super excited to meet all the rest of them today. So, you know, in person, we've probably spoken to each other for the last 5 years.
It must be interesting to meet, because presumably you've chatted to them online, but not necessarily heard their voice.
Yeah. It's everything's been, done online and stuff. I think 5 years back when the group was actually first started, we were sitting in New York.
It's mad, isn't it?
All meeting up. Yeah,
it is mad. And is there anyone whose voice or in person seemed particularly different to their Facebook profile?
No, I think everybody speaks so nice. Yeah, it's a great group of people that actually come from all over the world, really.
Well, Ewan's a little bit nervous because he's giving a small presentation before this meeting this morning. He's already had 3 cups of coffee. He's been to the toilet twice.
I'm preparing myself.
Preparing yourself.
Yeah.
I haven't heard the Welsh vocal warm-up or anything in the shower yet, but I'm expecting that later on.
That audio was terrible. Did you get that mic from Wish?
Probably.
Well, yeah. Well, hopefully your podcasting skills have improved as well. Yeah, that trip was surreal. I think I arrived late in the evening and you landed in the middle of the night. So when I woke up, you were there. And it was my first trip out of the country on my own post-surgery. So when I got there, I think I went straight to bed. That was a tough journey, but well worth it.
Well, I do think the audio quality has improved, thanks very much to the input from Cambridge TV. Instract was interesting in that, we're now 5 years on, really, as you point out in that sort of interview there, or that soundbite, that meeting was 5 years on from when you started the support group.
Yeah, I think we've been going for about 9 years now altogether. Where has the time gone? I can remember clearly walking down together from our hotel to meet all the other guys from Recode. And a lot of them I'd known through the support group, for years. I never actually met them in person. So to be honest, I was a little bit nervous as well. It was a brilliant experience. And I think, those 2 days really made myelopathy matter, with what we've discussed and how far we've come from there with Recode.
Yeah, I think it was really powerful foundations that we set. I remember that first morning because you came into this sort of small room, didn't we? And there was all the sort of people living with myelopathy on one side who, as you say, sort of knew it. They're a little bit emotional trying to meet people the first time. You had all the professionals on the other side of the room. It was like a sort of school disco at 16.
Yeah.
But as the day progressed, everyone mingled and you could really see the power of that coming together, that interaction. And I think that's the sort of seed that we've continued to be able to sow, and it's profited tremendously for the charity and also I think the disease, I hope.
Yeah, and I think Recode has been so successful because you've got health professionals and you've got people with DCM working together, and like you said, at the end of the day we're all sitting amongst each other discussing things. So yeah, our community is definitely growing as well. Sort of with social media, I'm noticing a lot of health professionals getting in contact with us where in the beginning we were sort of searching for them. So, things are starting to change The word is getting out there. The awareness side and the education is starting to flow outwards, which is a great thing. And I think we've come a long way from 2014, where everything sort of started.
Yeah, I get the same impression. It's really hard to measure if you look at sort of what we look at in sort of professional circles in terms of, how often articles are being looked at and cited. It's growing, but we're still a small field. If I publish something in a different disease, it gets 10 times as much activity as something in myelopathy, which I think is just a reflection of the size of our field. But you do get the impression there is momentum. There's more recognition of the term degenerative cervical myelopathy. There's more buy-in to look at problems outside of surgery itself. And I really got that sentiment when we were invited to talk at Glasgow at the Brit Spine Conference. It was just a fantastic conference. The opportunity came a little bit out of the blue, but it's a sort of, it happens every 2 years in the UK, and they bring together the different stakeholders in spine surgery. So you had the physiotherapists, you had the surgeons, you had the chiropractors, you had a whole spectrum of people there. And to be honest, for the problems that we're trying to solve in terms of getting people diagnosed and able to access surgery, it's the perfect audience. And the feedback and the follow-up we've had from that conference has been really fabulous.
You were messaging me and saying how things were going, and it was great to see, us at Brit Spine, such a massive platform. We wouldn't have thought of that, going back 2014, 2015. That wasn't in our sight, sort of thing. It's nice to see us on that stage, people being interested, and people want to work with Myelopathy.org as well. We should be proud, super proud of what we've achieved in, the last 9 years.
I just wanted to bring up that conference again, because I think one of the things that really cut through was the video that you made, to sort of sharing your story and just sort of, again, articulating that important message that many of the problems, or most of the problems, if you like, aren't really in the operating theatre. They're in the process around it. And I know we sort of struggled to help you put that video together, but I mean, how did that feel to be able to offload and go back to those dark moments? Was that a tricky thing for you?
I think I was in two minds of doing the video, to be honest. Again, it was the same situation when you emailed me in 2014, when I was on social media trying to raise awareness of myelopathy. I was in two minds of sharing my story, because I'm not a massive social media fan, but I looked back and thought to myself, look at the impact that my story has made on other people. So, if other people can, look at the video and go, this has happened to me. I'm not alone. And, it's the main thing is educated and raised awareness of myelopathy again.
Mm-hmm.
And it just shows that, we've come a long way, with myelopathy awareness,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a long way to go as well. We need to sort of, get early diagnosis, get treatment. Yeah. The main part for me is that people are not getting diagnosed and they're carrying on with their activities, and they're making the whole thing a lot worse, So if we can stop that and educate people and go, right, this is a slow motion spinal cord injury, and that should tell them how sort of serious this thing is. I was lucky enough that I looked into the condition, and I decided to stop doing what I was doing at that time, because it could have ended up a lot worse for me as well. So we're getting there, but there's a long way to go as well, that we need to keep educating people. And
I can distinctly remember when you wrote that story on our website. So this predates the charity. This is, we just had, Mark and Ben's information website and Iwan's support group. It was really, really early days, wasn't it? And I remember that we were trying to push out a survey to try and capture some perspective. And you wrote that blog for the website, and I don't know how it got shared, but honestly, in 72 hours, we'd had 2,000 people read that article. And, that survey ended up getting, I think, around 850 people in it. It was the biggest survey perspective from people living with myelopathy from all over the world. It was huge, and it was we went on to share a few other stories from other members of your support group, and they all had similar impacts of people buying in to understand, see the problem, and and participate. It's been a really rich basis for trying to capture, that sort of broader impact of the disease, no doubt.
Yeah. That's great. I think because people can relate to it as well. We see it in the support group where people are more open now about their mental health. It's not just a physical condition, it affects you mentally as well. And people are talking about it. And that's what we really need, people to open out.
Mm-hmm. And I think, to be honest, if you think about something that the charity and the community here has really been able to do well, this is a disease that's been known about for 200 years. And because it's treated by surgeons, has been a very surgically orientated look at this disease. They look at operations and all that kind of stuff. But what we've been able to do, I think, is really by engaging the community, started very much with people living with the disease, expanded on to other professionals, is, we've been very good at mapping out the bigger picture, building the evidence base to say, look, this disease needs research investment. This disease has huge disability, huge cost to society, affects many, many more people than we currently diagnose, probably 10 times more. Ultimately, it's that sort of narrative, I think, which is now starting to feed in around the world to help people raise the investment in research, get their studies going. And it all starts, I think, with that power of bringing people together and understanding that the lens that you see this disease in, for me, it's an operation. It's not the full picture. And it's only really the people living with the disease that can be the constant glue to all of that. And I think that's been, I can't sort of describe, that's the most powerful lesson I've taken away from this thing. Completely by surprise. I came in as a researcher, used to come in with an idea, doing a project, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it was sort of here where, I've probably come in very young to this disease in terms of a professional. I hadn't got any sort of subconscious bias on what I thought we should be or should not be looking at. And it was just listening and sort of pivoting around the kind of things that you were bringing to me, Ewan, and all the rest of the support group that's really grown this. And I think it's been tremendous that continues to go, really.
Yeah, and I think, having you guys involved as well, the health professionals. Remember Ask the Health Professional? We launched that.
Yeah.
And the feedback of that was brilliant, absolutely brilliant, because a lot of people haven't had the opportunity to go, right, I've got this symptom, I've got that symptom, I've also got this symptom going on as well. Are these all linked? You've got so many questions. And like you say in your video that, when it affects the spinal cord, a lot of things can go wrong. Yeah. And, people were ticking the boxes going, okay, this isn't all in my head. This can happen when you've got myelopathy. So mentally you can sort of deal with it a lot easier as well. So I think the combination of health professionals and the people with DCM has made Myelopathy.org what it is. I think that's why it's worked so well.
And I think we need to do more here. And maybe we should talk about this now, actually, this sort of juncture. Because I think if we look at our sort of origins, it was really around education and support for somebody, going through that diagnosis treatment phase. And I guess it's worth a little bit reflecting. You can, correct me if I'm wrong here. But, if we look at the support group, I guess, which is a lot of the sort of foundation of the charity, it's been a great resource to many, but it's not a perfect solution for everyone, is it? We've got an audience in there, which is, we think, about 75% female. Is that right, Ewan?
Yeah.
Whereas the disease is actually slightly more common in men than women. So we're not reaching everyone. And then there's the challenge that, we've originated from the UK, but the audience is, the mostly North America. How does that sort of work, do you think, in terms of, support, education that we can offer at the moment?
Do you know what? I looked at my Facebook friends list, and a lot of my male friends don't actually use Facebook. So the majority on my friends list are women as well. Also, you'll find within the group that most of the conversations are actually started by women in the group as well. And I think we are reaching countries where, Facebook is the number one sort of social media platform, say America. And again, you've got China and Japan were probably using another means for social media are the platforms that we don't use. Yeah, I've been banging on about this for ages. If we could get our own sort of forum onto the website, yeah, where people sort of log onto that, they can discuss myelopathy there openly, openly in private, then I think we would sort of get a wider audience. Yeah, I don't know what the stats are or the people visiting our page. What countries are the majority. Yeah, I think it's down to whatever social media platform specific countries actually using
Yeah.
is what's actually affecting the numbers, going
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
our group.
Yeah. I mean, I can sense that's limitation. I mean, I don't use Facebook, so I'd be immediately, unable to access all of that. And I guess not everyone wants to discuss quite personal things in a forum, perhaps.
Yeah, and we get a lot of people emailing me, the older generation, and say we haven't got a Facebook account. Is there any other way that we can, get support? And on a few occasions, I've actually rung them up myself and had a chat with them, and it's just that initial contact with the person with myelopathy that understands and gets what you're going through. It can mean a lot. It can mean a lot, and go, right,
Yeah.
it's not all in my head. This happens, that happens. What sort of tips have you got for example, sleeping and things like that? It's really important. It's really important that we get the support out there to everybody.
Yeah. And obviously the sort of support offerings evolved a little bit. We've got Esther now, haven't we? Is she on Zoom or Google Meets or something, which has been very popular?
It's a different feeling as well. When you pop into Esther's coffee breaks and whatever, you'd think it would be everybody is on about myelopathy and so on, and it's not. It's a bit more of a community spirit where they talk about things in general. Every topic is probably covered in there, and it's. We are getting there. We've tried it in America as well with Sheila. She's done like a virtual meeting as well to cover the US hours and so on. So we've got a good mix of moderators from the UK and moderators and admin from America as well. Yeah, we're pretty international.
And don't get me wrong, the international thing has been tremendous for the sort of lens on the disease as a whole. But I guess helping people on an individual level, it can make things more difficult, in terms of how they navigate their particular circumstances, their systems. The disability stuff that we've tried to help with, again, it's very difficult because it's jurisdiction dependent, isn't it?
Yeah. I think we've got a benefit page up there. We got a bit from the US as well, but if things with the US, everything's probably different from state to state as well.
Yeah.
But it's all the feedback we have is from the people with myelopathy, and if they want something on the website, get in touch and say, right, we need this information, and we'll try our best to get that information out to them.
And I think it can be hard to see behind the scenes of a website, can't it? But I mean, we are reflecting on lots of this and trying to evolve the support offering. And because I think one of the other things that we've seen is that this is not just necessarily about helping the person going through treatment, but actually for the community, we've seen that people who have sort of come through and sort of empowered to be able to help others, that in itself is quite empowering. It seems to sort of help them look more positively on the situation sometimes. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. It's, I was looking back at the journey. I wanted to make a difference. I want to get the awareness out there. And I look back and think to myself, it was a really low point in my life. I'd had this devastating sort of diagnosis. I didn't know how to deal with it properly. Something in the back of my mind was going, right, I need to get the awareness campaign going on this. And I think everybody has got the same power to make a difference. They can start something, or if they want to get involved with the charity, Same with Esther's Coffee Morning. We didn't know how that was going to take off. We gave it a go, and it's been brilliant. And it gives someone a sense of purpose as well when they do it. And there's nothing better than someone turning around and saying, "Thank you very much. I feel much better because you've explained this and explained that."
And I guess we could talk a little bit about sort of where the charity is trying to move now in the sort of short term, because we have been, as I say, looking at this and trying to evolve, because I know from my personal clinic experience that a lot of patients, as you mentioned, don't have Facebook, and Zahabia, who's our great director now, she's the only employee of this charity, who's shouldered lots of the sort of legwork on all sorts of things, but they are busy preparing an application to one of the big charitable funding, the National Lottery in the UK, to try and set up a telephone line, because I think there's an opportunity there to have it run by the community who really have the expertise, have lived through that, been there, done that right ear. And then we get access, I think, to people who can't use social media, who just want to pick up an old-fashioned telephone and ask those questions that relate specifically to them. Because there is a danger with such a disease, which is so different, individual by individual, country by country, that you can provide a lot of information on the website, but it's quite diverse. And how do you bring that down to the individual circumstances? It needs somebody to probably help them to do that.
Yeah, it can also scare the living daylights out of you as well when you information overload. Oh, this could happen, that could happen.
Where do you want to see us in the next 5 years, Ewan? What would you like to have done 5 years on from now?
We could have our own forum. Yeah, something that anybody could access. The helpline would be brilliant as well. More awareness, more education. We're still having people going to see the doctors, and it's taking forever for them to get a diagnosis and timely treatment as well. We need to cut that down and get people talking about myelopathy. We talk about MS, and MS is a household name. Everybody knows what MS is, even though that their family members haven't been affected by them. And I think we need to sort of reach that pinnacle, that point, so that we've got people talking about it, so that they know that these symptoms, could be myelopathy related, and they can put things in place then for them not to sort of make the condition a lot worse. So education, awareness, support.
Yeah, I guess on the research side, I mean, I think 5 years from now, I would love to see a very detailed care pathway for this, that people really understand how it all fits together, what needs to happen when, the importance of getting things done quickly in many cases, and have it all mapped out. And ultimately, try and get that implemented. Because I think the solutions on a care pathway perspective are going to be pretty consistent amongst most, certainly developed healthcare providers. And I think we've got the raw ingredients to do that now. We've got all the different people coming into the charity. We've got the frontline physios, the neurologists, surgeons, rehab preventers. So all the stakeholders are starting to come together to help us put that recommendation. There's a few more knowledge gaps to fill, but we are getting there. And I guess it comes down to a little bit about how we get there. And being from a charity perspective, I think we're at this position now where, if we look back 5 years ago, Ewan, this was something that you and me could manage in our spare time. It was sort of, it was a web page and, a few bits and pieces, but it's got to that size now where it really needs people employed. And it's so hard to sort of, to raise money to pay for people to do a job. But I think the charity is getting to a stage now where it's impossible to really catalyze all the different directions it's going unless you've got some, 2 or 3 personnel there Monday to Friday, overseeing, managing, and doing a lot of this legwork, really, because it's got to that size now. Yeah,
definitely. We need to look at donations and things now to expand and to push forward to where we need to go. If we are going to have things like phone lines, we need people to man them and so on. If we wanted a forum on the website, that would cost us money as well. So, yeah, it's time for Myelopathy.org to spread its wings a little bit more and get to that next level, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And this is a big challenge. I mean, asking for money is difficult, isn't it? Particularly for a condition that no one's heard of.
Yeah,
I guess, people listening, how can you help this? Well, I think, there's obviously the obvious thing with charities is to go out and do events and try and fundraise. And I think the experience so far is absolutely, we'd love to support you doing that, but they are quite a commitment. And whether or not it's that easy, as I say, to ask people for money about a disease they don't know, it doesn't necessarily work out so well. I think one of the things that, as you've mentioned, is we do need to try and improve the sort of regular donation base, don't we? Just, £1 a month, £2 a month, £5 a month, that kind of revenue across the community that we're now serving would be quite transformational for us, actually.
yeah, definitely. We've got nearly 3,000 sort of members in the group, and say if someone, the members give £1 a month on a rolling sort of basis, that that would really put us in a much better situation, and we can look at other things then as well. So, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that we need to look at, I think, because, as I say, we need to get to a position where this is financially sustainable and there's people really driving it. And because the other big source of revenue for charities of this size is charitable grants, but they themselves take a lot of time to prepare and submit. You need to, bank on the fact you're going to probably, fail at half. So it's a sort of, it's a constant battle bringing the money in. And it was really interesting learning a bit about charity fundraising, because one of the interesting things, I didn't know if you know this, Ewan, but particularly from the UK perspective, is that, the amount of money that you're allowed to apply for slightly depends on, your income, but also how much reserves you have. So if you had a really good year and you fundraised really well, and you suddenly had expenditure which was less than a year of your assets, then a lot of grants won't fund you. It's almost like you have to constantly be at this sort of tipping point of near failure to keep the whole thing going.
Wow.
Incredibly stressful.
Wow.
And I guess, like any business trying to scale, if we scale a bit more, then we'll really be going to be all in, and it feels a bit boom or bust, but I think we are ready to make that step now.
Yeah, when you're in business, it's all about the cash flow, isn't it? And it's the opposite way that the charities work. I didn't know that, but yeah. But if anybody wants, something on the website, get in touch. If they want to donate, you can donate through the website as well, and you can do it as a monthly donation, and so on. But we'd love to hear from you as well. What you would like to see on the website as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And where you'd like us to be in 5 years' time. Maybe we can work together to make that happen.
But yeah, what would you like to see? I do know there's one that's on top of the list is information leaflets to get out there. But at the moment, we've got the PDF file that you can scan, and that'll go straight to our website. That's got done really well. And you used that in Britspine, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. And we are working on that. I mean, I think we've got Irina just finishing off her core information set project as well. So I think we're building nicely there. I mean, I think one of my, again, lessons, I think, with myelopathy is that, if you don't start from the very beginning of the story, the foundations, i.e., what do people actually want to know? It's very easy for me to write something down and give that to somebody and go, oh, here you go, here's an information leaflet. But actually, like the research priorities, if you start by asking people what they need to know, try and work out what the core elements are, you can make that resource much better. So it's just a signpost to say we are working towards that leaflet. That's not far away, but we have been taking our time to make sure that it contains exactly just what is needed, rather than totally presenting someone with a textbook on a very very complicated disease.
And again, information overload. Look at that. You don't want to scare the living daylights out of someone as well, do you?
So I guess one of the other ways that many organizations and charities fundraise is by having some really, visible, perhaps wealthy or connected to wealth ambassador, isn't it? Think of Superman, Christopher Reeve's Foundation.
Yeah. Yes.
Or Elton John and the Elton John HFA Foundation. I mean, these people as individuals have really been the foundations of a huge movement in terms of raising money, which then raises awareness, it raises research. And I just do not understand why myelopathy hasn't got somebody similar. There must be people out there in that sort of position.
We've actually reached out to a few people and we haven't had anything back, but yeah, we're desperate to sort of get someone who can be the face of myelopathy, out there that can spread awareness for us. And like I said, it's all about networking. Someone out there must know someone famous with myelopathy. Not that I wish it on anybody, but if they do know anybody, they can please get in touch.
Yeah, there's your task. So up to the community, find someone famous. If you can, subscribe and donate something. But broadly, let us know what and where you want this to be in 5 years, because we are really committed and working as hard as we can to achieve it. Well, thanks very much for joining us as we reflect on 5 years of the charity, 10 years of Myelopathy.org. Please do get in touch if you want to let us know where the charity should be in 5 years' time. But of course, this was Myelopathy Matters from Myelopathy.org. The podcast produced as always by Carl Homer from Cambridge TV. To keep up to date with the latest in the field of degenerative cervical myelopathy, make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favourite podcast app. And do get in touch at any time, Ben@myelopathy.org. So until next time, goodbye.